Today, let me guide you to the most comprehensive approach on how to think as a manager and a leader. I'll do a quick job of it, hence I'll cover only the basics. We'll leave the details for some other time. When I say I'll guide you, who is the you I'm targeting? Well, it is you, whoever you be, whatever level, whatever industry. You could be a junior manager in the industry or a lieutenant in the army, or you could be the CEO in the industry or the chief of the army staff. Hell, you could even be the Prime Minister of India. It will still apply. It will apply because it is patterns of thinking we are talking about, not trait specifics. This is a very ignored subject. Maybe that is why we see such poor managers and leaders. Let's get on with it. So, what is this mode of thinking? Well, there are only 4 patterns of or stages of thinking. These are: what's going on here? Why did this happen? What course of action should I take? And what lies ahead? If you or your managers are even aware of these 4 patterns of thinking, or you make a conscious effort to think in these 4 specific patterns, you are already a successful manager and leader. You can close this here. But if not, let's dwell more on this. So the first of the 4 is, what's going on here? This can also be called situation appraisal. It forces you to clarify your context and seek clarifications as to what problems should you set out to solve. A problem is, as you know, the gap between what should be and what actually is. As you can see, this presumes that you know what should be, or the desired end state. The objective is known. So clearly, this won't work for opportunity spotting or true innovation, because there the objective is not known. You are just wanting to know what would be a better future. Okay, so let's come out of the true innovation scenario and stay with conventional managerial thinking. So you should probe what's going on. Do all that is possible to be able to clearly state 4 things about the problem: what, where, when, and how much. With that, you can move to the pattern or stage 2. Why did this happen? This is also called problem analysis. Here you establish the cause and effect. Beware of 2 things though. First, the cause and effect does not work in the domain of complexity. I have covered it elsewhere. Maybe you should look up my video on how to act in the complex environment and the other 3. Second, it takes skill to correctly establish the true cause and effect. Here I'll show you a video I had created some time back for some other lesson, but it is relevant here too. Here it is.
This is the story of the young man who used to get terrible headaches every now and then. His eyes would just pop out. His ears, they would go deaf, and his pulse, it would go racing like that of a war horse. He went to all types of medical specialists, but nothing helped. He tried several diet plans, but no use. Prayed to gods of all faiths, But still no. He thought he'll die soon, so he gave up. Decided to get himself some new clothes before the end came. He went to his regular tailor, but the guy was out of town. So he went to a new one, who started taking his measurements. The tailor started calling out to his assistant, "Collar size 32. The man said, No, my collar size is 30. It has always been 30. The tailor shot back, "You can have 30 if you want, but then don't come back to me later saying, my eyes, they just pop out. My ears, they go deaf. And my pulse, it goes racing like that of a war horse." You see?
The third is, what can I do about it? This can also be called decision analysis. It does a few things to your thinking. Firstly, it forces you to clarify, to yourself at least, what is the purpose of my thinking? As you know, if the aim changes, all subsequent discussions change. Then it forces you to formulate your options and prioritize them. It forces you to focus on your values and satisfaction criteria. Because what you finally choose depends on what you would like to happen. A word of caution here also. Typical methods of making appreciations, as happen typically and regularly in the armed forces at least, are quite faulty. There, to get to the most desirable option, we compare our few possible options and choose based on that shootout. That's foolish, to say the least. But let me hasten to add that you can still use that method for scientific thinking, or when we are dealing with simple or even complicated domains. Here again, you may like to watch my video on how to act in the complex environment and the other three. But if you are dealing in business scenarios or war, any shootout between own few possible options is just a waste of time. After all, your final chosen option would not be colliding with your own other possible options. So choosing a winner among them makes no sense at all. Your final chosen option will actually be colliding with one which the enemy or the other party in business would be taking. So it is that comparison that is valid, and only that which is valid. But of course, you don't know what option that other party is going to take. That's a state of uncertainty. So for decision making under uncertainty, mostly you use game theory, which is, crudely put, the best case, worst case scenario technique. When your risk appetite is low, that is, when you are more keen that you lose small if you happen to turn out to be unlucky, than that you win big if you turn out to be lucky. In that case, you work on the worst case scenario. On the other hand, when the situation is reversed, that is, when you are keen that if you are lucky, you win big, even ready to lose big if you turn out to be unlucky, then the best case scenario is the one you should choose. In my book, Leadership for Colonels and Business Managers, I have covered this technique in detail. This brings us to the fourth pattern of thinking. What lies ahead? This can also be called potential problem analysis. Mind you, it can also turn out to be potential opportunity analysis. In any case, it forces you to project your chosen course of action in the foreseeable future and see how it holds out. This could expose a few chinks, or at least it will show you what all to be careful about. So there you are, just 4 patterns of thinking. What's going on here? Or situational awareness. Why did this happen? A problem analysis. What course of action to take? Or decision analysis. And finally, what lies ahead? A potential problem or opportunity analysis. Use this framework. Whether you have 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days for thinking. Thinking through a situation. Yes, it will not be sufficient in some specific scenarios, but it is good managerial training to start with. Most of the terms I have used here are from a managerial discipline called Rational Problem Solving, the Kepner Tregoe KT approach. Thank you.